All right. So, first of all, hello everyone, and a warm welcome to all of you from the World Consultancy. I just want to remind you all that this event is live on Zoom and on Facebook. So, before we move ahead, some logistic announcement. I want you to please mute your lines, and if you want to, ask some question or have some query, please use the chat option to record your comments or responses. We were going to have a question answer session before we close the event. So saying that, I would say that today topic is very, very important for all those who are into the training and development or learning and development domain. Because what we see that in current context, when we are dealing with a huge change and transformation of businesses due to corona pandemic, and from business point of view, it's become more evident nowadays to keep a watch on your return of investment. And when we talk about the return of investment on training interventions, we find that this is a pain point for most of the training professionals because businesses, they always look out for the training return of investment. So saying all this, today we are going to have a detailed discussion on ROI. My name is Kashif and I'm going to be your host for today. I'm an experienced learning and development professional having 19 years of corporate experience, a learning designer and a modern learner. And for me, ROI of training is equally important as doing like a training need analysis. So to discuss the topic and to have a fruitful outcomes, we have a very esteemed personality among us, having 23 years of corporate experience and had worked with organizations like AstraZeneca, Eli Lilly, MSD, and Cadila, an XLRI alumni and the founder of the World Consultancy and a wonderful human being I know. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Ajay Tyagi. Ajay, over to you.
Thank you, Kasif. Thank you for such a wonderful introduction. And nice to have you here on this platform and with all my other colleagues, senior colleagues. And we have many colleagues joining on Facebook Live. So I want to start today's live session with a few lines which are relevant to all of us before I go to ROI and the main topic. We start with Sarve Bhavantu Sukhine, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kashi Tuk Bhag Bhave. So with that prayer of well-being to all of us, I want to start this session. This is our first live session from Al Consulting. Thank you very much for being here with me as my partner. And whatever little we know about this topic, we'd like to certainly discuss with the group. And then we'll have question answer, as you rightly said. And we'll see that how we can make maximum utilization of this time by sharing our experiences. Thank you, Kasim.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense to me, Ajay. So before we jump and we start, the conversation, and we all know that the conversation is about how to measure the ROI. But I think it is always better to start with some basics to understand the fundamental first, and then go into the topic. So Ajay, I mean, first thing first, can you please brief all of us in very simple words that what is return of investment?
Yeah, sure. So I'm sure that many trainers are online, and I'm sure they all know about little about ROI in terms of Kirkpatrick model or Phillips model. So today we'll talk about actually level 5 of Kirkpatrick. So most of the time in corporate, we have been talking about four level of training evaluation. We talk about reaction level 1. Then we talk about learning of training through some questionnaire quizzes after 30 days of a training session with level 2. Level 3, we talk about behavioral change, which we do through some questionnaire or interview of stakeholders after training has happened. And then comes level 4, which is result outcome. What is the impact of training has happened? But seldom, I would say most of the time, most of the programs, we don't go up to the 5th level, which is ROI. In fact, in training, is the community is also known as ROTI, that return on training investment, right? So that's where we are. So we are going to talk about level 5 of Kirkpatrick. What is ROI? How do I calculate ROI? Given the fact that there are many ambiguities in terms of tangible and intangible measures of outcome. So how can we make it more, measurable? So we can demonstrate what we are investing and what is return on outcome of investment. So I hope that will answer to your question in terms of basic fundamental of ROI.
Yes, exactly, Ajay. And I think the way you have briefly explained about the 5 levels of the Kirkpatrick model, that itself gives a sense to all of us that that ROI is on the 5th level. So that shows the importance of ROI in when it comes to the training evaluation. Even in the Kirkpatrick model, it has been put into the last label, that is level 5.
Yeah.
So I think that gives a brief understanding about the Kirkpatrick model and what are the levels of evaluation in training and why ROIs are at the 5th level. But when I interact with business as a training professional or a learning and development professional, they actually put a bit of, I'm not say pressure, but they put some of responsibility on the shoulder of the training person to correct the performance issue. So is it like, I'm just want to understand, is it like that they are looking forward that training is a solution for all of the performance issues which are related in the organization?
I mean, this is one question which I'm sure that most of the L&D professionals have been asked, and many times it has been seen that for a performance issue, training should be the answer. But if you look at in real time and practical scenario, that may not be the case, right? So it's not for every performance issue you cannot held accountable training as one of the solution. But there are certain areas of, I'm sure that where training can really add value and should add value. So to answer this question, I have prepared a slide which I'd like to share with you and to the viewers. So when you look at this gap analysis and when you look at performance issue, what is the real issue? So in that, I mean, performance issue could be because of multiple reasons. So reason could be related to raw material, right? Reason could be because of maybe equipment. Reason could be because of course, human resource, quality of human resource. It could be because of products, or sometimes it could be also because of finance. Now, you would appreciate the fact that for every performance issue here, training may not be the solution. Where training can be solution, I'm sure that quality of human resource, certainly training can add value. Now, if I have a wrong raw material, not good quality of raw material, if I don't have the right equipment, if I don't have right product, which is impacting my performance, training may not be that solution for that particular piece. Now, having said that, once I know that what is the performance issue, now I need to identify what could be the reason. Is it training is the only reason, or something else can be the reason? Let's go further deep into human resource. So you find that different reasons could be there. It could be the inadequate organizational structure. The way organization has been built, the structure, it may not be right now aligned with the changing environment. That could be one of the reasons. So you require OD intervention here, not necessarily training. You could have an issue related to ineffective leadership. Now, the issue here is cannot be solved by training the show floor guys. The issue here could be by how the training could be the solution, but not to the show floor. Here, the course correction could be at a level of leadership team. It could be also one of the reasons in terms of recruitment related issue. Maybe your hiring process may or may not be up to the mark. So maybe I need to look at that process rather than looking at training as a solution for this particular problem. It could be also another reason, maybe the inadequate competencies and skill, which is very well accepted. There could be also possibility of remuneration not competitive. Let's say your salary benchmarking is not up to the industry benchmark, and that might be leading to maybe some sort of motivation, inadequate motivation. Now, Kasi, if you would look at here and my colleagues, that among all these reasons, I might have to look at this as one of the area where I can add value. Training can directly add value. Now, look at another one. What could be the possible solution? Is training the only solution to address this issue, or something else can be done? Now, when you go further deep into this, I realize that you have solution could be through some rationalization or automation. Solution could be also because of hiring new staff with desired competencies. For example, let's say today we are looking at some digital competency. We are looking at digital marketing. Now, can I train my existing staff? Answer is yes or no. If no, then I need to hire some staff with that competency. But if answer is yes, then certainly I need to train them, solution through training of existing staff. Or there's also one possibility where I need to look at another option of maybe the job rotation. Yeah, solution with job rotation could be one of that strategy for me to look at that issue, and I can address that. Now, among all these solutions, I find training as one of the solutions where I can impact directly the performance of the organization. So to answer your question, Kasif, that can training be the solution for all the performance issue? Answer is you have to go into deep, understand what is the issue, and give that the solution as per the issue, rather than giving a blanket issue in terms of training to all the performance issues. I hope I answered to your question which you asked.
Yes, Ajay, I think that makes a very picture more clear to me, because see, when I look into this particular slide, now I
Yeah,
feel like that it's not only the competencies and skills which are responsible for the performance issues. There are so many other factors which need to be considered. And when we go into
absolutely.
this gap analysis and solution by training this flow chart, this gives
Yeah,
me a clear idea, and I hope that rest of the colleagues also getting an idea that when organization or when the business asks you to do a training to improve the performance, you should go deeper and find out that whether it is really a need for a training for that particular performance issue or not. If it is not a need and the performance issue is due to some other reason, you have to find out that, and that you cannot cover that with only with training. So you need not to give a blanket cover of training to each and everyone in the organization. Am I right in
yeah.
saying that, Ajay?
Absolutely, Kasif, and also that also would like to add one more thing that once you identify the real need and once you give the training, you are not only justifying the investment, you are also adding value to that entire organization, the resources also. Otherwise, it will happen that you are only pushing training and because the issue is somewhere else, so you will not get benefits, and ultimately the impact it will be reflecting as the training is not effective, or trainer is not effective, or some other reason will come out. Yeah.
Absolutely,
So
and
it's
that's
important
why
to identify what is the performance issue.
exactly. And I second your thoughts, and that's why it has been said that the TNA should be rock solid. When you are
Absolutely.
conducting a TNA, it should
Absolutely.
be rock solid. You should come up with the with the good outcomes, that whether it's really
Absolutely.
a training need or not. I think
Yes.
very you have simplified the things in such a manner that I'm able to understand that how we can identify that whether training is a need for any performance issue or not, and we should not give a blanket cover. We should ask this to
Sure.
the business. So,
Sure.
Ajay, I'm sorry, I just want to go a bit deeper into this. And as I
Yeah.
said that, we'll to discuss some basics before we jump into that ROI calculation.
Yeah.
I just want to know one more thing, that when we say that there is a performance issue which has been raised by the business and they want training intervention to be, to be conducted, a training program to be conducted to cover that performance issue, and they feel it's a capability gap or a skill gap or a knowledge gap. So
Mhm.
what happened that immediately training team, they jump into the designing of the training program.
Yeah.
I have a question in my mind, that what do you feel that how important it is to align the management for any training intervention? It should we make them aware that this is what we are doing, and
Yeah.
when we should start that?
Right. I think this is a very important question once again, Kasif, because see, if you look at in any kind of training delivery, before delivery, the real work starts from the time of TNI, when TNI is happening. I would say from the step one of identification of training need, the alignment of business is as important as conducting a training session. Why? Two reasons. One is that if there is no ownership of the business in training session, it is not going to be that fruitful. That's, I think, you all understand. Second very important part is that if you are looking at ROI for a training program, it is extremely important for you to align with business and understand what are the criteria they are looking at to impact. So you can plan those interventions to impact those criteria. For example, let's say we are conducting a session for a business team to enhance customer centricity. Let's say.
हाँ कल हमारा कोई बंगालियों का ग्रुप
Now
है
in
उसमें ट्रेन
that, now
हाँ
in
है
that, when we look at customer centricity as one of that important parameter, I need to look at certain factors. Let's say in terms of how many new customer acquisition you are looking at. Does it going to have impact on existing customers? what is the total number of revenues, percentage growth in revenue you are expecting? So these are 2-3 parameters you have to identify, and that cannot happen without involvement of business. So, but if business is not involved and you are pushing something which you feel is the best for the organization, chances are it may not work because your expectations are not aligned with the business, right? And I think the one very simple formula is that we have to be expressive, talk to the person. And this is the one message which I always used to tell to my team in the corporate, that don't expect business to come to you. You have to go to the business.
Exactly.
Talk to them.
Exactly.
Kasif, I remember a few lines, if you allow me to share, because this is one of my habit. I keep sharing some
Please go ahead.
during my session.
Please.
So there is few lines from John Elia. He says that एक ही हादसा तो था और वो ये, मतलब this, if you go to this depth of the share, ये जब से ये सृष्टि बनी है तब से ये है कि एक ही हादसा तो था और वो ये कि आज तक बात नहीं कही गई, बात नहीं सुनी गई. Now if you look at this line, अगर बात कहीं सुनी नहीं जाएगी, then what will happen? There will be different expectation from stakeholder. Trainer will have different expectation, and outcome will be something very different. And then will lot of hard ones, hard feelings, and ultimate all the efforts will go for waste.
Exactly.
So, in a nutshell, yes, it is extremely important to align your business leaders right from the day one when you're planning a training program, and involve them in delivery also. That will really add a lot of value by virtue of their experience. They add lot of experience and learning which happen. There's no substitute of that. So
I agree.
This is clear. Yeah.
I completely in agreement what you said, Ajay, and I would say that that when I was working with the global human resource team, they always used to say this to us, that start early. So initially we were not getting actually what they are saying is start early. What doesn't make any sense to us. We were thinking that they want us to start the TNA a bit early. Yeah. But then later we realized that what they are saying, that TNA is not the first step. They always used to say that. They say that TNA is not the first step. Start with the informal discussion with the business. Go to the business, do an informal discussion. And once your round of informal discussions are completed, then you go to the TNA. Directly don't go and jump into the TNA part. That will not give you a fruitful result. So get an insight first, get your understanding about the business, get their need first, what is their objective, and then you go and jump into the training need analysis and find out that what you can do for them. Yes, so absolutely. I think I completely relate to whatever you said right now, and that शायरी was awesome. बात जब तक करेंगे नहीं तो बात होगी कैसे?
बात नहीं होगी. Yes.
Correct. Yeah, sure. So I think that we are getting some comments as well in the chat box, and Brijesh is saying that having said and being heard is very important. Thank you, Ajay sir, for telling that in Shairi style. So
very true. Yes, that is so important. That there is also saying that many things can be resolved by talking to each other rather than by talking about each other. So when you talk to each other, then the things really change. And this is one of the success mantra which I feel as a trainer we all should have, that you have to be more expressive, communicating, collaborating, rather than pushing your agenda to the business, which may not be the right way of looking at it.
Exactly. So Ajay, now that brings me to the core of this session, that is the formula, that mantra, that how to measure the return of investment for any training program.
Yeah, absolutely, Harshit. And that's one of the, as you rightly said, that's one of the reason behind this live session we are having. So we can share our little experience with the teams, our colleagues, and let's see, we can have more discussion on that. So when I look at this formula, Kasif, before that, we need to be, as I said, that involvement of business in the very beginning, early stage, helps you to identify what we are going to evaluate after training is over, right? And in that context, I would like to share some list of, direct measurable outcomes and indirect measurable outcomes. So when I say direct measurable outcomes, I look at tangible, which can be measured, which can be direct in terms of rupee value, which can be seen and people can measure. At the same time, there are certain intangible, indirect outcomes which cannot be directly give you the value, but yes, you can convert that into monetary value.
Okay.
So let's take an example of directly measurable outcomes. Let's say you have production, increase in production. So you see after training and before training, you take a baseline and you see after that how much it has happened. So there are various methods of using training effectiveness. So one of the method is called trend line. So trend line is nothing but you take the data from the last maybe 2-3 years of particular situation, extrapolate it, put a trend line, and after training you see plot your training outcome on that trend line. That's how much is the real benefit you are getting out of the training. Now I'm talking about not trend line, I'm talking about real formula of how do you calculate return on investment. So you require measurable outcome like production. You could have decrease in inventory, could be one other measurable outcome. You could have increase in number of sales, could be another one, which is directly measurable. You could have decrease in labor cost, that how much total cost you're paying to the. Then you have decrease in waste, overall waste, material or maybe some waste production, and decrease in defects or rejections. Now, these are the criteria which I can evaluate directly. Now, there are certain indirect measurable outcomes, which are like, for example, decrease in absenteeism. Now, I may not have direct monetary value attached to the absenteeism, but I can convert that into monetary. Just hold on. I have to change my earphone because I get some message in this.
No problem.
Just give me a minute.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'm asking the multimillionaire question. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're very much audible. Clear and loud.
Just a second.
Sure.
Yeah. Kasif, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Ajay. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just go to that screen and I'll just share it. Yeah. So sorry for that interruption. And I think this is one of the part and parcel of technology. Sometimes technology doesn't work in between and it stops working. And we are used to it nowadays. Yeah. So we're talking about measurable outcome and we're talking about some indirect measurable. So we were at absenteeism, decrease in turnover or attrition. We are talking about improvement in interpersonal relations. It could be also decreasing grievances, overall grievances, and maybe sometime decrease in number of complaints. Now, if I look at these indirect measurable outcomes, can I convert these to the net monetary value? For example, if I say, let's say decrease in attrition. Now, when I say that after training, number of people left are less, that means if a one person leave, there's certain loss in terms of that to the business. So can I say that as a saving? Okay, and we'll discuss it in maybe next example, which I'll share with you for calculation purpose. But important thing is to understand that before starting a training design, if I have these pointers into my mind, I can have a better ROI calculation. That's the basic message on this slide I would like to share. Now, having said that, when we move further, these are the formula which is, I'm sure you will get in any textbook or ROI, which talk about benefit cost ratio is nothing but your total benefit divided by total cost. Total benefit, and of course the ratio should be more than 1 because your benefit should be more than your training cost. So that's as simple as that. Then the second one, which is we use is ROI formula, which is total benefit minus cost divided by total cost into 100. And today we'll discuss how we use this formula for ROI calculation. So with the example, I'll just share with you. So let's say we are doing this calculation for a sales team. And if we take total benefit as, we are looking at 3 parameters here for ROI calculation. We are looking at increase in net sales, which is measurable, tangible outcome. we're looking at reduction in attrition, which is intangible, indirect, measurable outcome. And we are looking at new customer acquisition, which is again an indirect, measurable outcome. Okay, and we'll see how we convert into the rupee value.
Right.
So before making certain assumptions we are taking for this calculation. So first assumption is for calculation purpose, we are saying that let's say monthly average salary of an employee is 10,000 per month. Okay. And one attrition means loss of 4 months salary. So you would appreciate that one person leave, meaning that there is a loss of 4 months salary because he will go, recruitment, he will hire a new person, he will take some notice period, he will join, he will do onboarding, and start producing. So let's say average, say thumb rule by 4 months of you get loss of salary. Now, one new customer give approximately 1,000 business per month. This is our assumption for calculation purpose. So we will be calculating around 9 months of business, considering the fact that after training, employee might have taken 2 to 3 months to convert the new customer. So we're not taking complete benefit 12 months, we're taking 9 months of business to our calculation. Okay. Now let's look at this in more of a pictorial form. So let's say looking at 3 parameters: net sales, attrition, and new customer acquisition. In 2019, I have total sales of 100 lakhs. I have attrition of 20%. And I have new customer acquisition around 10 new customer per month. Let's assume this is what we are having. After training intervention and follow-up of 30, 60, 90 days or whatever number you have decided, you come to one result outcome, which is against the baseline of, you see you have a net sales of 180 lakhs. Your attrition has gone to 14% from 20%. So if for calculation simple, I'm keeping that पहले अगर 100 एम्प्लॉय में से 20 एम्प्लॉय छोड़ते थे, अभी 14 लोगों ने छोड़ा, तो आपके 6 employees were able to retain, right?
Right.
And for new customer acquisition point of view, you had 10 per month, now you have around 20 per month. Let's say we are doubling the number of customer acquisition.
That is a conversion of the customers.
Conversion of customer, absolutely right. Okay. Now let's look at it. Before starting ROI calculation, I cannot say that this sale which has happened 100 to 180 lakhs is only because of training, which is very impractical, and nobody will, and it's not the real assessment that only because of training this sale has happened. I also cannot say that this attrition is only because of training. Similarly, I cannot say that your customer acquisition is only because of training, because there are so many other factors. There are marketing campaigns, there are investment, there are CRM activities, CME activities, so many things are happening. Okay. So what I do, I go for confidence estimate. And what is confidence estimate? I take feedback from my stakeholders. And this is where the role of business leader comes into picture when you involve them from the day one of training, right? And you ask them about their confidence estimate. Okay, this additional sales of 80 lakhs, which has happened over baseline of 100 lakhs, what contribution you think is because of training intervention?
Correct.
Okay. And in that I get, let's say, for example, I get estimate of very conservative 20%. They say it's 20% training, and rest is all our efforts, 80% goes to our credit, which is reasonable. Similarly, I take this idea from attrition, we say let's say 40%, and maybe new customers say 30%. Now, I need to convert this number into net benefit.
Right.
How do we do that? So, for example, for net sales, I'll be taking 20% of incremental sales, not complete sales. Because of based on 100 lakhs ka, I have no right to say that it's because of training. I am only saying the 20% confidence estimate of additional 80 lakhs of sale. So it's only 16 lakhs, which is very conservative and very, reasonable number. Similarly, I say that attrition, when I say the 6 employees who were retained or didn't leave the organization, so I take calculation again 40% of 6 employees, roughly 2.4 employees. So for calculation purpose, we'll take 2 employees for our, benefit, net benefit. Okay. And we'll calculate it how we convert. Yeah, please. You are saying something?
No, I was just thinking about the net sales.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that when you say that the base which has already been there, you cannot take the credit of that has not been built by the training because the base was already there.
Right. Right.
So whatever credit you have to take, that is the additional or the incremental sales which has been built up over the period of a year.
Yes. Absolutely right.
In simple words, if I have to put this, it's like that whatever growth has happened in last 1 year,
Yeah.
you have to take the confidence estimate, or that is 20%, of that
Against that.
particular growth which has happened in that last 1 year, in that financial.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Bang on. Absolutely right. Yeah. Similarly, we are taking this attrition benefit only for that additional benefit which has happened because of after training intervention. So only for 6 employees, कभी 40%, बाकी भी तो effort होंगे ना business के उनको रोकने के लिए, salary hike, whatever. But we say 40% of 6 meant 2 employees are because of, let's say, they have been given right career development, they have seen some bigger picture, so they have not left the company. Okay, we are taking only that. Similarly, for new customer acquisition, we take 30% of additional 10 new customers. So only 3 are because of training intervention. Not all 10 of then we are claiming that because of training it has happened. Does it make sense? Are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you, and I hope that rest of the colleagues are
Yeah,
also.
I hope that everybody is with us. So now let's go into the calculation part. So I say my total benefit is net sales, which is 16 lakh due to training, which is nothing but 20% of 80 lakhs, which we discussed, plus 4 month salary of these 2 employees. Okay. So these 2 employees who have not left, if they would have left, they would have a complete loss to the organization. So we are taking only the 4 months assumption which are taken in previous slide for our calculation. If we have saved that 4 month salary of these 2 employees, which could have left because of XYZ reason. Plus, I look at additional value of business generated by 3 new customers for 9 months. Remember, we take an assumption. We are not taking complete year because we assume that person might have taken 2 to 3 months to convert the customer. And for the rest 9 months, we are taking this into account. Now, once I do that, now I get picture more clear and I get to, and now I also need to know my training cost, how much I have invested. So let's say I've taken ballpark figure of 5 lakhs, which I calculated by, if it is internal training. So I'm taking account time of L&D team, which is derived from their CTC in terms of number of hours we have invested, number of hours for training design, for the development, everything we put into perspective, plus logistics, participants' time, case study if you have bought something, or maybe some other props. So we're taking nutshell, we are taking 5 lakhs as one of the training cost. Now, when I put into numbers, so this is 16 lakhs, which is I think self-explanatory, plus 80,000. 80,000 is nothing but salary of 4 months salary of 2 employees, considering each employee is getting 10,000 per month. So one employee got 40,000, 2 employees got 80,000. So that's 0.8 plus additional value of business generated by 3 customers, which is like 1,000 per month, 3 customers into 9 months. That makes how much? 9,000 and into 2 to 18,000 rupees, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So 18,000. This minus 5. What is 5 is your training cost divided by 5 into 100. So I get a number of around 213% of ROI from this example. Now I can go to the business and I can tell them, okay, whatever we did, this is the return on investment we are sharing with you, and it's a reasonably good number of ROI on that investment that you did, considering the fact that you are able to retain employees, you have generated new customers, and there is also 20% increase in your number of sales. So hope this gives some clarity in terms of calculating my ROI and presenting to the board meeting and to your management. This is what we have delivered.
I think this makes a lot of sense to me, Ajay. Now, when I'm looking into the numbers,
Yeah.
I was like that, business always looks the numbers. And when
Yes.
we showcase the number, in terms of the net benefit, in terms of the percentage, or the impact of training in terms of percentage, that will be highly appreciated.
Right.
In fact, business can highlight this particular effort into their own business meetings.
Yes, they can.
They can showcase L&D as, as a valued partner.
True. Absolutely right. And that's where we say that being a partner is like finding the place on the table. So you add value to the business.
Absolutely.
Many times we see that, you are being only pushed to conduct a training, but have I done my homework before, going to talk to the business? That's the question we have to ask to us as a L&D professional.
Exactly. So let me put this in very simple words, whatever you have explained in this particular example, Ajay.
Yeah.
That when we have to calculate the ROI, first we
Yeah.
have to see the parameters.
Right.
And if we consider the three parameters, one is the net sales, then the attrition rate, then comes the new customer conversion or acquisition.
Yeah.
Then we can calculate the net benefit out of that.
Yes.
So
Correct.
the formula goes like this, that the net benefit of these parameters
Yeah.
minus the total cost of your training program,
Yeah.
multiply by 100, and then again divided by the total cost of your training.
Correct.
And when we
Correct.
talk about the total cost of the training, it actually includes everything, from the time which been spent by the training manager,
Yeah.
maybe in coaching or maybe in designing the training module, that will also be considered. So like I was just assuming that how to calculate the time of a training manager. Is it like that in terms of hours we have to calculate that?
Yes. So here we are taking here in terms of hours. So if you calculate, let's say total CTC, and let's say you're working, let's say 8 hours, maybe in a day. So 40 hours per week into month, if you like 160 hours, that will give you some idea, rough idea in terms of number of, that value of the time is spent by the training manager or the training team, whatever. Yeah.
And then
absolutely.
comes, that will gives a hourly rate as well to of the particular training manager who is working in that organization.
Yes, that can be calculated.
You can include the vendor cost, or if you have some material.
Yeah, this is just an example, Kasif. So there could be multiple, so many other factors. So I'm seeing one comment by Vikas ji in chat box, which is very relevant comment, by the way. He's mentioned that, instead of 4 months salary, what about 4 month business loss? Again, this is another parameter. Yeah, so very much relevant. So one person leave, if you can calculate that how much loss you are, maybe it's, let's say it's in a acute therapy, you see that how many new cases would have been lost because of the vacancy. That can be a wonderful idea to add to this. Sure. Very, very good point. Yeah. So another question by Vikas is asking, maybe we'll take in question answer, that can trend line be used for confidence estimate? Answer, I would personally will not go for that confidence estimate for trend line because it's very subjective. So I will not go for that confidence estimate using trend line for that purpose. Yeah.
But a very good suggestion from Vikas ji about what about the net sales loss in last 4 months.
Excellent point. That can be another fourth parameter we can add to this. Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for adding that dimension to this.
So Ajay, when I look into this particular example, and when I take example of my training programs where I used to calculate the ROI, because see, I'm coming from a digital training background.
Yeah.
So I am more into designing and developing of the digital training, or you can say e-learning or bite size or micro learning kind of thing.
Right.
Generally, these kind of trainings, they are self-paced training programs where a learner being assigned to the training, and then he or she has to complete the training at the given point in time at particular designated date, or maybe it's not a mandatory kind of training. Sometimes they can, it's just an in-time training as well. They can the training whenever they require.
Right.
So I'm coming to a very tough question for you.
Yeah.
How to calculate the ROI for these kind of training programs?
Yeah, sure. So Kasif, a very relevant question once again, and I think this makes a lot of sense to discuss this in terms of digital learning. Also, how do I calculate the ROI of digital learning, and for that matter? So first thing is that before deciding that should he go for digital learning or should he go for classroom learning or should he go for VILT, which in the current scenario, answer may be that by force you have to go for digital learning only because of that environmental conditions. But in general, I'm talking about what is the objective of training. Objective of training is to make your team competent and not comfortable. Right. And I'm emphasizing on this very loud and clearly because all my L&D colleagues are sitting here. Just because it's comfortable for me to assign digital learning or e-learning to my team, probably I'm not doing justice to that role which I am assigned, right? Number one. So And there is nothing against digital learning because it is as effective, I would say, that which is like classroom training, which we have seen in last 4 or 5 months. So we are seeing good learning practices which are happening in digital learning also. But objective is not to make somebody comfortable. It should be to add value. That's the first point. Now, when I look at ROI, basics don't change, Kasif. Basics remain the same. So if I have invested, let's say 1 crore on some LMS and I have got some maybe, let's say LinkedIn Learning or Skillsoft, I have paid some amount to that particular agency. I have assigned a course to my team with certain objective. And the objective could be that has it resulted in some new customer acquisition? Has it resulted in some net sales? Has it resulted in some less number of failure of my batches in quality in my plant? Has it resulted in terms of increase in my production capacity? Whatever objective I have set, going back to basics, identify the success measures before starting the training. And it's actually easier, much easier, because here you are only seeing the cost which you're paying to the vendor for particular course, divided by number of trainees or maybe number of hours they're spending. You can easily calculate that total benefit divided by your total cost. So there is no rocket science, but it's all important is that how much deep you are going in terms of identification of that success criteria, which will make the difference.
Absolutely right. And I'm in total agreement whatever you said, Ajay.
Yeah.
And I think it's very whether it's a e-learning or whether it's a classroom training, the basics will remain the same.
Basics will remain the same. Absolutely.
Basics will remain the same.
Yeah.
And since we have a couple of I think we'll have a lot of trainers on the call right now.
Yeah.
Say that from my experience that designing and producing learning content itself is a very time consuming process. We know this, right? Whether it's an online, whether we are developing it for the online or whether we are developing for the classroom training, the producing or the designing of the content itself, it's very time consuming.
Yes.
But when we talk about the ROI of the e-learning, I feel like that with e-learning, each time the course is assessed by is assessed, your return on investment improves. More number of people watching the e-learning, your return of investment will improve. Correct. As you divide it with the fixed production cost by the number of users. So that in that way also you can calculate the ROI of the e-learning. I feel like. So I'm just sharing this with you.
Sure.
So thanks a lot. I think you have given a lot of insight on how to calculate the ROI, and I think I'm having a clear understanding that in my training programs how I'm going to use the formula and apply this to showcase my efforts and showcase this to the business, that how ROI is, how training is impacting the business or maybe addressing the performance issues.
Yes.
So saying that, what else we can expect from the Vault Consultancy in future, Ajay?
Kashiv is a very multi-million question. So one of the reason of starting this consulting is again, to whatever we have done from our, our corporate experience, giving back to the corporate, to the society. So there are certain questions which are like very much relevant to all of us. Questions like, how do I identify high potential in my team? Like we had the ROI question. Questions like, how do I differentiate different ratings in PMS system? Questions like, how do I have a good coaching dialogue with my team? Questions like, how do I build that agile organization by doing good succession planning in the organization? Now, these are the questions which are relevant to all of us, and there's enough scope to discuss these in times to come. And very soon we'll come again with some topic which is relevant to all of us. Of course, we'll take feedback from our team members, colleagues, and certainly we like to discuss on this such platform.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward, something which is again related to, not to ROI. Of course, I think we have got enough clarity on ROI now.
Yeah.
But we are looking something which is very having some pain point with the training and development community.
Sure.
So, saying that, I would like to first of all thanks to you, Ajay, for taking us through for such a wonderful session and such an informative session, in fact.
Thanks,
and I would like to open the floor for the question and answer. And I would say that if you guys have any, the people who are there in the call or whether on the Facebook, you can just post your question on the chat box, and Ajay is going to take those questions.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Kashi, for being a good host for this session, for facilitating this very, very nicely. And thank you very much for the colleagues for adding their comments and adding value, especially Vikasji and Brajeshji who have mentioned 2-3 pointers. And feel free to ask. And so we have created a group also. So don't hesitate to write in that. And they're all like-minded people. So this group is not about pushing somebody to join a group. It is only by voluntarily, if somebody want to come discuss, they can always most welcome and create a learning community where we can discuss such questions. Thank you so very much. And we are having some time. We can have discussion, questions, or if somebody want to add something to this, feel free. And that's the way to, I think, to learn with each other experiences. Pankaj sir, Vikasji, you want to add something? Please feel free.
First of all, Ajay, thanks a lot for taking us through this very important point, ROI. I was just thinking about when you talked about this confidence estimate.
Yeah.
And this is actually meant for all those people who are migrating from sales into training, because one thing is very, very clear, that as a trainer, you need to have excellent interpersonal relations with the business,
right?
BU heads and such type of people, because if your confidence estimate what you're through this, if you're calculating the ROI,
yeah,
when your relations with them, that also plays a very important role. Yeah. So that's something which also came to my mind.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Yeah, that is something which
okay.
I mean, it struck me.
Sure.
I said I'll just mention.
It's important, sir. Important, sir. And yeah, I just wanted to address this very important point which you said, because it might have a biased confidence estimate for the trainer. So what literature says that you take average of different stakeholders, don't take only one, and also say that omit the extreme feedback. So if somebody says 0%, 100%, you say that average is coming 20 to 30%. So you say literature by you omit that extreme cases, because it might have biased.
So you take feedback from many stakeholders.
Absolutely, because not only one, but in multiple. It could be manager, different business unit head, different. So it's all depend upon what is that scope of that training, and then you take average of that.
And very nicely explained. Because it's very quantifiable. I mean, you just cannot.
Yeah.
There's no subjectivity as such. It's quite quantifiable.
Yes. So we have to reduce as much as you can and see how much make it more relevant to the business.
Very, very nice. Very nice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
All right.
And Kashif conducted very well.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Pankaj sir. Thank you, everyone. I would say that if you want to have some more information related to this topic, please do join the Vault Consultancy Facebook group and the WhatsApp group. If you join the Facebook group, you will find a link of the WhatsApp group over there. And saying that, I would like to once again thanks to all of you for your time, for being here, and for the patient listening. And thanks to Ajay sir for conducting this session.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.